You know what I mean? Like it seems like just very fitting that we have this ability in our arsenal now. And yeah, Rachel. Just any chance I can.
AOA, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah. Open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AOA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AOA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boys Isaiah.
Oh, hi.
And Gavin.
Oh, what is the Gucci of shoesies?
And we're here with part 2 of our TOG questions segment. Join our Discord so you can post your questions and you might just get them answered on our discussions that we post throughout the week. And if you haven't seen it already, definitely check out our blog post discussion that we had earlier this week and check out our live stream, which you could see on the AOA Reacts channel. The link is in the description down below so you can catch all of our live reactions and all of our live read-throughs for Tower of God. But anyway, getting into the first question, we also have Gavin here today. Obviously, you saw, so this is cool. We're on a 2 streak with this. Don't get used to it, though.
Yeah, we're firing him after this.
Yeah, we're firing him after this. So, Gavin, fire off the first question for us, would you?
Oh, number 1 comes from Piper. Oh, wow. Ooh. Piper 5. I almost said Piper Farm. I don't know why. Piper 5. Thank you for the question. I appreciate you. What are your general thoughts on Khun's new ability? It's funny to think that Khun only got this ability because of Rachel. Don't make me fool. She seems to have accidentally helped him a sort. Oh, she accidentally helped him or helped give him a sort of power up. LOL. Well, my thoughts on Khun's new ability was that it makes him more adorable, and there's a little fishy. So I gotta say, it's A1. Plus, he can now like revive everyone. Apparently, he is just like. I wonder if there's going to be a limitation on him, like if there's a cooldown period, because it's just too broken, dog. Like you can't tell me he's just going to go. It's like solo leveling. He's just going to go and be like revive, revive. Like oh, bam, dot, revive. You know, like there's got to be limitations on it. So I'm curious if it's like a physical toll on its body, if the thing's just going to like disappear after like 5, respawns or what. But for now, it looks cool. It saved his ass. I'm about it. The next part of the question, I'm not even going to say her name, to who she may not be known. And I will say that although this ability is cool, I would have been A-okay if just that whole thing with Rachel never happened and he never died and he never got this ability because I don't want her to even lay a finger on my man. So I'm not giving her any credit to any of this. Yeah, I'm taking the ignorant route on this one. All right,
no, I think you answered the question pretty fun. Because the question really is, what are your thoughts on Khun's new ability? The second part was just kind of the 2 cents added in. But I love the ability personally. Just not necessarily that Khun or anyone has it, but just the ability as a subjective thing is awesome. I love the koi fish, how it's like shrouded in fire. I know Isaiah and I went off on this during our live stream. It's like this irony, right? It's like water dwelling creature. It's like shrouded in flame. It's really cool. I think it's aesthetically a really sweet thing, and it seems to be very powerful as well. I'm curious to know if there is something beyond the aspect of revivification, and if it's like a power up in any other way, shape, or form. If he has like the ability, it enhances his eyesight to be able to see somebody's vitals and things like that. Like, I don't know. I think there's a couple ways you could go with it. It seems like this whole healing is like cracked open this whole Khun healer aspect. He like unlocked a new skill tree, and he's like able to go down.
DPS and healing.
Literally. And I'm not going to lie. I didn't expect Khun to get that sort of power up because I know sometimes Bomb could kind of level the playing field, not in the good way, as in destroy it, right? Because it's like he's so powerful, he's getting upgrades every 2 seconds, so you think it's like, well, everybody else should be getting like a lot of upgrades, but you think it's like Bomb's a very special case. Bomb's genetics are ridiculous. They are the best, right, in the tower as far as we know. He's like he's built different, right? He's on a different level. So like everybody else, for them to get upgrades, that's like a big deal, right? It's like, whoa, you got this new ability. Like Khun even getting the ice thing, that was pretty damn dope, right? And there are people that are on these floors that are able to hold their own against what the normal tests would be that the floor is throwing at them. So the point is that I actually didn't expect Khun to get another power up so quickly. I thought, although he wasn't bomb level, nobody really is, I didn't know if he actually needed it, to be honest with you. But I mean, like, it's here. So like, I guess I'm not complaining. It's pretty dope. I guess it just threw me off that Khun got the fire ability. You know, like it's something from the Eon family in addition to the ice ability. It was pretty interesting. I expected, if anything, maybe Rak to get something that had to do with fire, being that there's the whole ancient thing with the elephant, and he's like in tune with it and all that sort of thing. So, but I guess it's a different kind of flame. You know, being that it's from the family. But anyway, long-winded way of saying that I like the ability very much, and I'm interested to see how much further this can go. And I do find it ironic that Rachel, while trying to be like, haha, I killed Khun, it's like, well, nope, now you actually powered him up that much more. So that's awkward. Like Rachel will just be incredibly spiteful and salty about that, and that'll be nice to see. But
yeah, I definitely love the ability too. I wonder if there's going to be more offensive capabilities to it, because it is the Yeon's, Woon Yeon's flame, which can be used to heal people, but I don't think that's the only use for it. I mean, if Iwa's any indicator, like, we know that shit can turn up, and we know that, like, that shit can do damage. So I wonder if that'll be interesting to see how he is able to manipulate it offensively, in addition to being able to support his teammates and heal them. And yeah, there is like sort of interesting, I guess, like offhand abilities that it produces, like things you wouldn't expect it to be able to do. Like you were saying, where like it might enhance his eyesight to be able to, because he's able to like detect that woman was actually alive, even though it didn't look like she was dead. So that's cool. I wonder, like, again, if there's, I don't know if there's any, it seems obviously very, thematic, or it fits the theme of this arc specifically, right? Where it's like Khun, like having this ability where you're able to like restore people's life, seems fitting, like, because we're getting up to the penultimate moment of this arc where Dang Dang is gonna have to give up his heart to resurrect Doom, and like gives up his heart. Is he alive? Is he not alive? Oh, if only somebody could see. You know what I mean? Like it seems like just very fitting that we have this ability in our arsenal now. And yeah, fuck Rachel. Just any chance I could get. I feel like it's like, it's like, oh, Rachel gave Khun this ability. It's like a little bit of a stretch, but okay. That's like saying Jihad gave Bam his upgrade. And it's not what happened. But
she, I think, accidentally helped is the right way to word it, for sure.
But
like the question states, but
it's cool. I definitely do love the ability, and I want to see more of it.
Yeah, for sure. It is kind of crazy too how, I guess, lucky in a sense Khun is, in that he has the abilities now of not just the flame, but of another family.
Another 10.
Right? Like
family.
he's like this weird
like
conglomerate, of these, this fusion of these two aspects.
Yeah.
Which
one
is
of the things
crazy.
that like I do love about the story, and I know some people might see it as just a cop out, but like they do emphasize that like a significant portion of like your ability to survive in the tower is luck. Like, you know what I mean? Like Khun, like these circumstances, Khun was just in the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he got killed by, or, sabotaged or whatever by Rachel. It's like, that sucked. But like, yeah, that put him in this position to get this power up. And it's like, so much of this tower is just like people knowing the right people and just being in the right place in the right time. And it's like, I don't know. I like that actually follows through in the story, and it's not just like they said that at the beginning because it's like cheesy, but never like there is no luck component to it. It's like,
seems to be hella convenient too for our main cast for sure. Anyway, moving on to question 2 we have by Riru. Thank you for the question. Riru asks, in the battle with Michael, Khun states that he's decided to change his style into being more impulsive. What differences have you noticed that with the way Khun was in these chapters compared to seasons 1 and 2? What do you think caused this? Do you like the direction that he is taking? Yeah, this is pretty cool. I was gonna say, when he came and teleported out of the woodwork and just blasted Michael right in his jaw, I was like, whoa, that was kind of awesome. Like, I loved it personally. Kind of Khun getting down, getting dirty a little bit here. And I know Rak would be a little proud. I know there was a point too where he's like, Rak's like, damn, I thought I was impulsive. Like, Khun took that and really went with it. And I don't know if it has to do with something, with the fact that he has like that flame in him. Maybe it's more of, maybe not so much, maybe not only the power up, and maybe like the essence of the Eon family, and like what makes it like fire. Like fire is kind of associated sometimes with like impulsiveness and like emotion and this fiery attitude, volatility, right? So like maybe there's something within him that like just kind of sparked this, no pun intended, right? Where it's like before he was, analogous to like this ice cold sort of, exterior, right? Where it's like veils on, like we got to be super analytical about this. So maybe this is good to have this thing. I didn't expect it to be so 180, that was the funny part, because I thought it was just going to be a little bit more down the middle, but even Rack was like, what the hell's gotten into you? I don't know how I feel about this, but I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Hopefully he doesn't take it too far. We pumped the brakes a little bit after we had some fun with the fish move and all that kind of stuff, because what makes Khun, Khun could be anything he wants because he's Khun, but what gravitated some, people towards him, and like one of his standout qualities in this group was his analytical mindset, right? Where he could go into it. And he definitely struggled with the trust issues and not being impulsive enough at times. So I think it'd be cool to have that balance, which I think that will be the case. But I just wouldn't want him to go too impulsive, because then I feel like, what's Rack's role? You know what I mean? Like he just outshines Rack.
It's like, cool, we gotta talk. You're taking my
yeah, because he can't do too many things in one, right? Like you got to have something where like you let somebody else make up for that, right? And I think that's Rack at that point. That'd be a little sad if it was like he just overshadowed him. But I doubt that will happen. I think there's going to be a middle ground with that. So he's definitely been different with that, and I like the new Khun. I think it's cool. He's like Todoroki, so my hero. But any other thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely also love it. I love that, like you said, it is a little bit of him sort of learning from and getting to capitalize on one of his flaws from the previous seasons, which was leaning too much on his analytical mindset and being like, well, let's think about this problem 6 more times before doing something. And it is nice to see him sort of be like, all right, no, these are the enemies. Let's take care of them. Let's just dispose of them. I do think that maybe we could also just be seeing a little bit of like the shit, I almost died, like near-death experience, like him coming back and being like, all right, wow, all right, fuck this. Like everybody is just getting this hand because it's like I'm just, like it might even just be out of like he's like, no, I'm pissed. Like Rachel almost fucking killed me. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I kind of feel like there is a little bit of like an emotional, mental thing going on here. But like you said, as long as it doesn't go too far into the other camp where he becomes too impulsive and forgets to sort of take a breath, take a step back, do what Khun does best and think about problems. Which, like you said, I don't think it's going to get. I mean, we even see. I think it's going to I think overall, it's going to integrate itself into his character modestly. Like it's just going to make him more impulsive in the aspects of his life where he normally wouldn't be. So like again, in the instance like where Rack was like where they're going to approach the enemy and he's like, oh shit, there they are. Rack, I got a plan. Let's jump them. And it's like normally he might have not taken that approach where it's like, oh, let's like sneak around them or like let's wait and hide out, see what they're playing. You know what I mean? As opposed to like him, being reckless and making like a foolish, move to jump into a fight. And I think his new power is going to help with that, like sort of being able to analyze a fight before getting into it. But yeah, I definitely think that like I said, I definitely like where the character is going. I think it's Khun growing. It's him, it's him being able to use this, like you said, maybe if it's like not just the physical power up from the Yeon Flame, but like because even when he revives the the buff Amazon lady, she's like, oh wow, all my wounds are gone, but like that's not all. Like there feels like there's this little burning fire inside me. And so I wonder if it literally does sort of like kickstart somebody's like inhibition and just like get them to like just get out of their head and just move and go. Which like I've said is I think exactly what Khun needs. So provided he can control it and keep it under wraps, it's dope.
What do you think, Evan? Let him unleash it?
No, you pretty much hit all the points. I was really going to talk about what his last point was in terms of when he resurrected that girl, that feeling side of him. I think that's what's really causing the change that he has in being more impulsive. And I think it's great because I will knock on season 1's door all day long with the door test, and this is exactly what the whole purpose was. He didn't have that impulsive nature that Rack did, which is what let them go with Han Sung, through that door, and that was always a flaw of his that he needed to work on, and now this is something that is directly changing that mindset that he has, seemingly for the better, and knowing Khun, it's not going to overtake him, but I do think it's because of the power that he has now been granted, and it's just going to make him a more well-rounded character, and it kind of leads up to the growth that they were calling back at him from way back in season 1. So yeah, for me, it's just really coming full circle in terms of the whole story and his character development. So I look forward to seeing more of it. Yeah. Yep.
All right, well said, sir. All right, Isaiah, hit us up with the next one.
All right. Question 3 comes from Irene Sharda. They say, Karaka is beginning to show us more parts to his character, being worried about Bomb, even going so far as to bug his pocket. He states that he doesn't care about anyone and that he doesn't trust anyone. However, it is obvious that he does care about his subordinates, Jin Sung, and perhaps a little about Bam. Do you think Bam will eventually earn his full trust, and will we delve into Karaka's issues involving trust? So I love Tsundere Karaka as much as the next guy. I love that he is, the guy who's got his heart in a volcano, but it's like a heart of gold, and he, he's like secretly just wants to eat ice cream and hang out with homies. Because I think, again, like I've said this before, but I believe that Karaka and Wangnan are related, so I find it very hard to believe that Wangnan's nature, that some of Wangnan's innate nature comes from jihad, but the original jihad, obviously, not the corrupted version, because you can't like pass on genetically anyway, to an offspring. So I feel like the pure traits and the good-hearted parts of Wangnan do actually reflect the original jihad that came to the tower. And so if Karaka is related to them, that same shit is in there as far as I'm concerned. It's just obviously Karaka's been through a much more tragic set of circumstances that's led him down this path where he feels like he can't trust anybody, and he feels like relying on allies is like not the best play. He's been burnt one too many times or whatever it is, but that stuff's not gone. It's not eradicated from his character or from his mindset or from his heart by any means. I think there is a path for him to open up into trusting people. And I don't really even think it's a matter of like, oh, we got to get Karaka to trust people. We got to get him to, we just have to get him to admit it to himself, because even like one of his subordinates says, she's like, wow, for somebody who like doesn't like allies, you like sure worry about me a lot. You know what I mean? Like he already is there. He already does trust people. There are people he's willing to depend on, and there are people he's willing to worry about and be concerned for. But it's just a matter of him connecting those dots in his head and being like, oh yeah, that's how I feel. Tsundere stuff. But like, I do feel like there is definitely a path where we get to a situation where like Bam and Karaka are like, 1-1 now and fully sync on a team. I don't know how. I think it might take a little bit longer than like expected, because I feel like we're gonna have some classic ups and downs here. Where we might do this thing with Yama, and it's like, oh, they seem pretty cool and in sync, and then something else happens and causes Karaka to not want to trust people again, and he's gonna go through his mood swings. But I do think like I said, yeah, he's going about it his own way, but I do think he does care about some people here. He just hasn't gotten to the stage of admitting it yet.
What do you think, Gavin?
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with most of the points that Isaiah stated. An interesting thing, well, actually, I guess I'll go into the actual question first. And, I mean, let's be real, Chihuahua Worm Baby, he just, he's not, he doesn't like opening his doors, to other people. And he just has, he has almost this facade about him because of everything that's happened. So it's not it. It's a suit of armor that he needs to hide in. And over time, he'll eventually break down, and his more vulnerable side will come out for certain characters that he has relationships with. But I have a feeling, kind of going off of the question a little bit in terms of their relationship, and I don't think Karaka and Bam are going to be kicking it for too much longer. I really think that there's going to be something where they're going to get close, like seemingly closer, where it's like there's a breakthrough, and then I think they're going to get separated, and Karaka's going to kind of get dealt down this like separate path. It's just something that I don't see these two characters being together, fighting side by side for too long. I don't know why. I feel like it's just not a route. Honestly, SIU doesn't like doing that route in general. He like even Wangnan. There's always separations between these characters that like they need to go down their separate path. They need to do these things to get their own development. So I'm curious to when they have the split between Bam and Karaka.
Well, okay, so let me just ask you real quick.
Go for
it. Do you think that split has to be that they leave on bad terms? Like, could they still split in the story, as in they go their separate ways, but still be like on the same side?
Yeah, so I think he's going to play in both. I think SIU is the type of guy to play both angles on it. So, obviously when I feel like they're going to be building a positive relationship, and then right before it hits that climax, they're going to separate. And then from there, Karaka is going to be giving, a separate path from Bam's mission in terms of, you know, here is something like, here is a golden road for you to walk down where you can like achieve this power and achieve this growth and blah, blah, blah. You just need to do XYZ things. And I feel like they're not going to exactly correlate with what Bam has to do. And it really is going to like test his, really be a test to himself and that trust in Bam and other characters to see if he can put his eggs in their basket and like also, potentially affect his own personal growth in the meantime, because like it's just one of those things where both of these characters are not going to simultaneously become two super power jacked they're not going to hold hands and go up the tower and just free everything. Like there's going to be bumps in the road, and those bumps, I mean, is going to be in the relationship, because that's really what the problem is lacking right now. And he's finally getting that trust and getting these things, and it's going to be positive, positive, positive. And SIU is going to have to knock them back down so they can self-reflect, and then we get to see their inner selves to how they evolve. So I'm just curious to see how Karaka reacts to them, what he is going to be asked or offered from other people in the tower in terms of his growth, and see what he makes of it. And if he will, you know, it's really a test of his will after building more of a relationship with Bam, which for me personally, I feel like he's going to pass because it's Karaka. And if he's showing these feelings now, it seems like he has that weighing on in himself where he's just kind of like, it may not seem like it in certain scenarios, or, you know, it's just he's going to become a better person at the end of it. And that's how I truly feel about him. But I also do think that he has to be tested in some way. And it's not going to be this happy, like little, you know, let's like prance to the top of the tower sort of ordeal. So yeah, I really want to see what trials are in front of him personally, separated from Bam, and how it affects interactions with future characters as well in terms of their relationships. So all in all, I want to see Karaka and see what he's up to, and, you know, really just see if he could put his money where his mouth is and see what happens. So I'm about it. I like him.
Yeah, I won't beat the horse any more than he needs to be beat.
You don't like beating horses, Ian?
No. I read Animal Farm once, and I always felt for Boxer. Poor guy. No, I do think this is comical that Karaka, and I know people like this in real life. I'm sure most people do, that are abrasive and come off as a bit of a dick at first. And it's ironic because when you scratch a little bit deeper to the surface, you find out that a lot of those people want nothing more than to not be alone and want some sort of companionship. Yet their demeanor would be indicative of someone who's trying to drive everyone away. And that's kind of the irony in the moment. And Karaka, I think, is a shining example of that. I think I like drawing a lot of metaphors and analogies and stuff like that in this story, and how before we were talking about the Eon family's flame being more than just a flame, but being indicative of this impulsive and emotional spirit, right? And then Khun's ice being this more analytical, cold exterior. I like to draw a similar parallel with Karaka's armor, like you stated before, and the fact that he has his heart somewhere different. I think all of these things are very interesting. His aesthetic actually speaks to his emotional state as a character, and I find that very interesting. I know that in the blog post that we read recently, SIU states that Karaka doesn't necessarily like Bam per se. He's warmed up to him a bit, but it's more so that he is protecting or making sure that Bam is going down the right path in respect for his master, being that they both served under the same one, being Jinsung. So I think this is going to be a journey of Karaka understanding why Jinsung chose Bam. And I think he's made initial steps towards that. He's going on his 12-step program here, where it's like, okay, I admit that maybe I was wrong. Okay, I'll be willing to admit that. How do I go forward? And I'll give it a shot if it's baby steps. And I think Bam is very charismatic in his own way, and especially now in season 3. So I think inevitably, and just through his raw power, he doesn't even need to talk, dude. Like, just give the guy a minute, and he'll show you why he's going to be the best.
That's what happened with Jordan. He just showed off his powers. He's like, oh, this nigga's dope.
Literally, right? So to me, it's only a matter of time until Karaka has to make a decision and say, listen, all right, deep down in my heart, I know that Bomb's the real deal. Am I willing to accept that and be okay with it and put my ego aside and do what Jin Sung really ultimately wanted and prop him up? Or am I going to let my ego get in the way and be, I want to be the one who does this and everything like that. And Jin Sung, I get what you were saying to him, and I know he's the real deal, but I don't trust it. I'm not going to delegate this. I'm going to do it myself. So I think that will be interesting moving forward. But I like,
especially if he's offered power. That's the thing. It's like, because like Karaka, and that's like, he's also someone who respects strength and wants to be stronger. So it's like, that's the whole thing with his ego. It's like, if offered this power, do you think he'll be willing to take it and run with it and give it a shot on his own? And like, that is something that I do feel is within him and something that he wants to do and fulfill. And it's like, to what extreme will he take it? And it seems like he has taken it to the extreme prior. And it seems like, he kind of teeters on that edge, however you look at it. So I'm like, for me, anything can happen with him, and I'm curious.
I really just want Wang Nan to be the one that kind of puts the nail in the coffin for him, because I feel like Wang Nan was the one who did it with Bam at the beginning of season 2, and I feel like it would just not metaphor, but because of their relationship or the relationship that I'm pretty sure they have, I just think it would be so cool for him to be like, dude, you're not you're not that bad, you know what I mean? You can put your faith in people. It's not, that'd be dope.
But he's just crying through the armor.
I'm telling you, Karaka's just a big tsundere, bro.
Take the helmet off.
Yeah,
Take the
Big
helmet
worm
off.
baby, though.
he's gonna take it off, and then he's
And
gonna
it's
look
just
like
literally gonna be a replica of
he's
Wang
gonna
Nan. He's gonna be crying.
Wang Nan's twin brother, and he's gonna be like, because I know you, and they're gonna cry and hug, and it's gonna be beautiful. And then Bam's gonna come in and do the 3-man hug, and
watch him open the suit, and it's like a midget standing on stilts inside of this thing. It's like I don't even remember that movie. It's like the face opens, and it's like this little guy controlling everything on the inside. And it's like, that's not what I was expecting at all.
I was like,
just
take the helmet off. Okay, put it back on.
It's like, that's why you wear that mask. Put that back.
That would be rough.
Oh man, Gavin, hit us with the fourth one.
All right. Fourth question by Simony Mate. Oh, I love you. You just need to comment every time, and I hope you enjoy me saying it, because I'm going to keep on doing it. So thank you for the question. Can we call this arc the Fug Civil War? Is Jihad even the enemy anymore? All right, well, off the bat, Jihad is still the enemy. I see what you're getting with this, though. Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it in the last discussion, in that Fug has some internal problems, and they really need to get their shit on the same page, because if not, they're really just shooting themselves in the foot, and they're not putting their brains together and really moving forward to the seeming goal that they all are supposed to share, which at this point, who knows? They all have their own ultimatums, as it seems so far, but it's like, how far off of the original thought have we strayed, and is there a possibility to get everybody back on the same page? And I feel like it has to come with time, with the growth of Bam, and him really proving himself to other, sects of Fug, at least ones that are going to give him the time of day that I can do this, we can do this, we need to get together. And until then, they're just going to be bashing heads and really just fucking each other over, which is going to make the end goal, which was to kill Jihad, even more longer. They're just delaying it and delaying it and delaying it because they're just not on the same page, and it's like, it's annoying. Just come on, it really is. But eventually you'd hope it gets resolved, and if not, then Jihad's there. I mean, it's going to be tough to beat him until Bam, is just a one-man army. But which then is still not going to be the case in terms of he can't just ice him off the bat. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Jihad is still the enemy. It's just going to take time. If you're expecting Jihad to be dead by season 3, it's going to take a minute. We have a lot of growth still for Bam. You got to be in it for the long run, but eventually, hopefully we hit our end goal and Fug figures their shit out. If not, I'm just going to smack them all. I'm going to line them up and just do one big smack. So yeah, we're going to continue.
Yeah, Fug has been off the rails from frame 1, from what I could surmise here. And I don't only mean that in the sense that they're completely disjointed, which I definitely went in on in our last discussion. But I also mean the fact that Fug, for all intents and purposes, don't seem to be good people either. Yeah. Their way of going about things seems to be incredibly shady. And if they topple Jihad, I'd be hard-pressed to believe that it's not going to be
the same thing.
The same thing, just reskin.
Exactly.
Just to their own likes and needs. Yeah. And so Bomb is incredibly important to this plan, and Bomb is working with Fug, but by no means likes them. So Fug is just as an organization, I'm like, take it or leave it with them. I'm here for Bomb specifically, and you guys are just lucky that Jihad pissed him off, and Bomb's going to do whatever it takes to do that. There are some cool people within Fug, Jinsung, Hansung. I said that right? Yeah. It's like a tongue twister. I'm like, did I just say the same thing twice? People like that. There are some sweet people in it, and there are some people with bigger hearts than we might have thought, like Karaka and things like that. But this organization is just all over the place. I'm wondering, rather, if the elders and the people that are up top are on such a different level in terms of understanding the playing field and elevating their perspective that they don't really care about the fact that there are so many disjointed sections below them, because they figure, okay, so long as everyone is in agreement that's up top here and knows what's going on, it kind of doesn't matter what's going on down there so long as we arrive at the same end goal, because we're just so much more knowledgeable and ahead of the curve when it comes to anyone in Fug or just anyone anywhere. I'm kind of just spitballing that. That might be a thing. It might not. But that's got to be one of that, to me, would make sense, because it's just, if they remotely do care about uniting the people under them, they're doing a terrible job at it. Right. So that's where I'm just kind of lost. And that's what makes me really curious to get a little bit more info on the elder that we ran into. His name evades me at the moment, but how powerful the elders are.
I believe it was Kelhelm.
Yeah. Kelhelm, yes. How powerful the elders are, how knowledgeable they are, if they have their stuff together, if the elders are all in tandem, because if it's the same disjointed thing up top, we're really screwed.
It definitely is.
You think? So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to see and play out, and what their ultimate plan was if it wasn't for Bomb, because they just seemed like there was no way in hell that they were even getting close to that goal. But yeah, and Jihad's still the enemy, or at least the idea, what Jihad has become, the new Jihad, right? This I'm gonna control fate and everyone's gonna have to deal with it type thing is generally never a good thing. So
yeah. Agree. Jihad's still a bad guy. I don't know. I think it's kind of tough when you're talking about like an organization, because much like how in the last discussion I was saying that there could be a possibility that the elders aren't these like all-powerful, omnipotent beings, and that they're just kind of figureheads. Like, the tough thing about an organization is that, like, with Fug as big as it is now, like, if they wanted to control everything, like, could they? Like, how big is Fug? Because the other thing that I always forget is that, like, it's so easy to say, like, Fug is doing this, Fug is doing that, but Fug is a lot of fucking people. Like, there are sections of Fug that literally don't agree on the same thing, right? There's sections of Fug that want to radically blow up the tower and kill anybody that disagrees with being a part of Fug. And then there's sections of Fug that don't want to do that, right? So to say that if Fug gets overthrows Jihad, that like it's just going to repeat, well, it kind of depends on what sects of Fug and what mindsets that have been adopted by certain parts of Fug get up there, right? If the radicalists get up there, then yeah, we're probably just going to have a similar version. But if the good, the better thinking, the more calm, collected sides of Fug get up there, I think we could see some change. And I think Bomb is probably, more akin to the calm, collected, let's approach this a better way of thinking. But I wonder, like, furthermore, if the elders, like, I don't know if it's a thing of like it could 100% be the elders are cracked out of their minds, but I wonder if it's a thing of like, there's so, like, Fug is so big, because like the problem, I'm just trying to think about this, like, if I was, head up in this organization, is that like Fug is a name now. Some dude could just run up to a floor in the tower and blow it up and be like, I'm part of Fug, they told me to do it. Like, how are they going to, they can't control every single person who uses that name. So, like, I wonder if it's a problem now where the elders are like, this shit has gotten so big that, like, I don't know how to bottleneck it anymore. There's so many people running around using this name. There's so many people running around, like, saying they're doing what Fug wants, but, like, they don't even know us. I don't know these people, you know what I mean? And that's where, like, the main problem with this Fug civil war is that Fug is fighting itself now, because Fug, like, the name doesn't mean what it used to mean, or doesn't solely mean what it used to mean anymore. There was this one idea behind it, obviously, when the elders started it, because it was, in honor of V and Arlene. But it obviously, quite simply, it's not that anymore. There's people in Fug, and there's people who say they are Fug that want probably nothing to do with whatever the original goal is. And so I wonder if, my main thing is like I haven't heard because it's one thing for like someone like Karaka to be like, oh, the elders would never approve of that, or they don't like it. But it's like, no, I want to hear them say it. Like, I want to know, I want to hear from the horse's mouth, like what the elders think of what's going on, because then obviously we'll be able to decipher like what the mindset, like if it is more they're cracked down their minds and think that everything is fine, or they're like, no, we know everything's kind of shit, but like, the fuck are we gonna, like, how do we stop it? How do we bottleneck this?
Yeah, I think to reiterate what I was saying before, I think they don't care. Is my guess. My prediction is that they are really powerful, I think, personally, and that they don't care really what's going on, or at least they don't care enough so long as the ultimate goal is reached, more of like a means to an end. And it's like, okay, separating the wheat from the chaff, we know what's going on. And so long as we can get whatever that goal is, whatever's going on below us, we just need like a couple key things to play out, and then they could all slaughter each other. It doesn't matter. Like that's my prediction. Yeah,
for me, again, it's like it's think of them as like like one of the 10 family or like one of the 10 heads of a family. It's like they feel like their arrogance is on another level. They're at the top of Fug. They're the elders. They're just chilling and like just reaping the leisure and the rewards from that, and they don't care unless like literally it's something knocking on their door, and they're like. And even then, they don't want to deal with it. It's the arrogance at the whole level, because they're in that position that they are, whether they're strong or not. They're just riding it out. They don't really give a fuck. They're like, I'm cool as shit. I'm a god as far as they're concerned. And it's like, now it's cool that we get to see an elder who like may not have that mindset, or he might well still have it, but he's willing to at least come down and observe the playing field. And it might just be for shits and giggles because he's bored, And it's like, I do think arrogance is probably, like, in my opinion, the greatest portion of just how they make their decisions and doing anything, and why they're not doing anything, because they just don't give a shit, like what you were saying. But I think it's driven a lot by arrogance.
Yeah. Well, I do want to clarify, though, not to undermine what you were saying, because I don't think you're wrong, and I think there are plenty. But I do think that one advantage, in a sense, that Fug has over the 10 great family heads is the fact that they are, I would deem, hungrier, in the sense that there is a mountain to climb. There is an ultimate goal, as in dethroning Jihad, whereas Jihad and the 10 family heads really have the ability to just sit and stew, because they're like, that's it, like that's what we did, unless they're warring with each other or some big thing comes along. But they need a gargantuan level threat for them to get up off their seat, whereas Fug definitely does from the lower as well. But I wonder, that's where I'm curious to see if there are elders that have kind of given up on that, kind of maybe what you were saying, and have kind of stewed in their arrogance and doesn't really matter, or if there are still elders that are saying, okay, yeah, we're this powerful and we don't really care what's going on below, but there is still a goal to be achieved.
Well, what it is? To answer that point directly, I think we see a lot of that in Han Sung, where he's like, I don't want the fire in me to die down over time. Yeah. And I think that's a direct correlation to what he sees in Elders of Fug, or has heard from them, in that they were ruthless and they were determined, but that fire is dying down, because it's been how many thousands of years where it's like, they don't feel as like impulsive per se. Like, yes, some of them are going to be, but I feel like that's just the thing where it's like, over time, like naturally those feelings recede, and it's like less and less and less, and they're already on a high pedestal, so it's like more arrogance builds. And I think that's where like that kind of ties into it as well.
No, that's fair. That could be something.
Well, my only thing with them being these like really powerful beings, but then also not caring about what's going on, is it doesn't really track with like the whole, they also have like this fire burning and this objective that like they really want to get done. Because if they're all powerful, like, and they really want to topple Jihad's empire, like, why wouldn't they be slapping people in Fug and like actually trying to unite everything under one umbrella, unless they do actually care about what's going on, unless they're not all like, I feel like that's the only reason that they're not as strong as we may think they are thing tracks in my mind. Because it's like, that's the obstacle, is that they can't just go down and wrangle the entirety of one, because like I said, Fug is, they'd waste their whole lives trying to wrangle the entirety of Fug, whatever that means. But two, like, they might just not, they might not be as strong as we think they're. Because then it's like, if they're all powerful and they're like, we really want to kill Jihad, like, then why are they just sitting on their asses? What are they doing?
Well, I don't think they're sitting on their asses. I think they're all on different page. They all have different ideas of who they want to groom. Like we have Karaka, we have Bam, we have other Slayers. There was White. Like there were so many different avenues that are being focused on. It's the reason why nothing's getting done is because nothing is under one umbrella. They're all on different pages and they're spreading it's the idea that two minds are better than one, but all of the minds that they have are split doing their own individual things, and it's like just that's not how they're going to progress or really make a change because they're just spreading themselves too thin. And now you have this big conglomerate of fog where it's like seemingly a whole bunch of people, but it's like what's really happening, not much at all until something like really gets the ball rolling, and that's what Bam seemingly is. And now we have an elder coming down where it's like, okay, stuff is happening. You know, you have two former Slayers now seemingly working together, or not formally, I said that a little weird, but you have Karaka and Bam. Karaka is a Slayer and Bam is a Slayer, you know, whether they agree to it or not. And it's like they're working side by side, and it looks like they're rattling Jihad a little bit because of everything that's just happened in the last arc. And, you know, like things are kind of getting a little squeamish, and now the curiosity might be brewing. So that's where I feel like hopefully we get more interactions of elders and see their input on if they're even paying attention on what's going on, to see like just their response. And I feel like that's what we're going to get with this guy who's like, this is what's happening. You know, here's an input. This is what I think. Or it might be like, I see the path you're going down, and it's like, we're doing this instead. Like, I don't know. There's just so much that can happen and so much about Fug that we don't know. This is the first elder that we're seeing, and it's like, we know that his mindset isn't going to be of every other elder. So it's just curious just to see, like, what his individual perspective is going to be, being he is the first elder that is actually coming to greet them in person, which I'm sure is a huge thing in general, because I don't imagine these guys go out much. So, you know, it's a lot of new things that are going to be happening in the future. So it's just going to be crazy.
Yeah, good question. So moving on to the last one here, we have by Emperor Dark North. Dark North asks, do you think Tower of God has somewhat fulfilled its potential in comparison to the first time you saw it? So I'm going to assume this question is Tower God good? So in a simplistic way, right? Is it as good as it was when you first got onto it? Are you still enthralled by it? All that kind of thing. I'm just going to take it as, what are your thoughts up to this point, right? Is the way I interpret the question. But if you guys interpret it a different way, then feel free to answer it in whatever way that you deem fit. So do you think Tower God has somewhat fulfilled its potential? Might have some more fulfilling to do, being that this story is going to go on for a while, but I think so far the story is pretty good. I mean, I have my gripes. Nothing is perfect, really, in the final analysis. So there are ups and downs, obviously, but I think as a whole, this is a very good story. I think SIU, especially from reading these blog posts, puts his life and limb on the line each and every time he draws a panel of this manhwa. So that's something that's respectable as well. The art has just been on another level, and I think there are some weaknesses that have been made up for, that being one of them as the story has progressed, which is really cool. The story has morphed in a way that it is told now, and that's really more a matter of preference. Whether they do that well is a different question. We touched on this in a prior discussion where somebody had asked what we think about the flashiness, paraphrasing there, of it now as compared to when it was the test format, right? And we were going on what some of our preferences were, what we thought about it, etc. And at the end of the day, I landed on being a little bit more likened to the test aspect and things like that, where we've kind of deviated from that in some way, shape, or form. But like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't live up to potential or not, because that's in the eyes of the beholder. That's subjective. So I think, although it's different, I think they're doing it well, right? The flashy art, the likable characters, the creative aspect when it comes to the abilities that they're using. I think that SIU hits all of these pretty well. So if that's how you're going to view it in that lens, then I think it's living up to potential there. I think when you start to try and look at it in a different light, or maybe compare it to things that it is not anymore, or hem a little further, then maybe it's a different conversation. But that's my thoughts. I think in that way, the story has evolved and morphed in that way. And I'm curious to know where we go from here. And yeah, those are my thoughts. But
yeah, I definitely think when we started reading Tower of God, my main thing was that, like, the characters and the world were just so fascinating that like I never I wasn't anytime I got more information on it, I was never satisfied with it. I was like, all right, cool, but like how does that work then? Like what does this do? How do all these puzzle pieces fit together? And I feel like that's still there. Like there's obviously there's a change in the dynamic that the story has taken into like how it tells this narrative. We've gone from like the analytical, like test taking, like mind over matter type situations, very small scale obstacle fights, to like big bombastic like nuclear Dragon Ball Z level explosion fights and stuff like that. But that really kind of only changes how we get there. My initial intrigue with these characters and the world is still there. I still am very much interested in how this world operates, figuring out and like meeting new parts of this world that we don't know yet, and the intrigue with these characters, right? Just because these characters are getting these crazy upgrades doesn't mean the characters have stopped growing, right? The characters are still learning about themselves and improving and evolving and changing into better versions of themselves, which is great to see, because it was actually funny. We were reading the most recent blog post, and SIU talks about how amazing he thinks the Avengers movies were. But not just because of the sort of literal or technical feat that they are in terms of like how they present a story, but how it captures and envelops the audience because of the history behind it, right? This isn't just like one movie's job to grab an audience. Like these movies collectively over their 20 something or however many of them there are have built a shared connective history. And like that is in big part why those movies, why this thing has succeeded the way it has, right? People have invested in it. People care about these characters beyond the 2 whatever hour runtime of whatever movie in that series they're watching. And I think for me, Tower of God has done that, where I care about these characters now. And so just getting to see them climb the tower, just getting to see them grow, getting to see them learn more about their lives and the lives of people in this tower is still as fascinating to me now as it was when I watched the first episode of the anime. I still have that like raw level of intrigue where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I am going to read the next few chapters because I want to know what he's talking about. I want to know why he cares so much about X, Y, and Z thing. And like you said, as far as like the dynamic, the direction, how it gets there, that's really a personal preference. I don't mind it too much because I don't think Tower of God like overdoes it or uses it as like a scapegoat to get out of storytelling or jump over narrative beats or any of that stuff. But like a story is allowed to do that, right? Stories are allowed to change the way they structure their dynamic of storytelling, right? It doesn't. Tower of God and any fantasy are not imbued in staying the same way they started. And again, especially if you think about it just from a narrative perspective, these characters are growing. It doesn't really make sense. If Jihad is this big, powerful enemy, it doesn't make sense that we stick with the same, small town. Let's do I'll take a test, you take a test, whoever gets the highest score wins. If Jihad can blow up, like, can just nuke whatever he wants. Like, we have to, it's almost like we have to get to that level eventually. And yeah, of course, there's the argument that, like, he does it too quick or it doesn't make sense. But overall, I do think that Tower of God has lived up to its potential for me. Obviously, it's still ongoing and it's not done, so I can't really like talk about it as a whole. But as of where we are right now, compared to the first time I saw it, yeah, I'm very satisfied.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of those points. And I mean, when you really think about it, we haven't even scratched the surface of what this story has to offer. Like, we still don't even know the fucking whole backstory with Bam. And it's like, we still have Arlene, we still have V, we still have Fug, we still have Jihad, we have all the 10 grave. Like, there are so many unknowns that have been leading up since we first started that we wanted answers for, and we don't. And it's really just, we're getting bits and pieces as he's telling the story, which is really great. And that's what's keeping the intrigue behind this whole world. And like, we're not even, I don't think, halfway up the tower, And it's like, there's still so much, like, we haven't seen and have yet to see that is like what really is the interesting part, because it already feels like we've made it so far, but we haven't done anything. And that is what's really cool. And, I think with a story like this, it's like we're out of that honeymoon phase, which a lot of shows have. And it's like a lot, like it's just change. No one likes change, especially when it's a show that you like when it slaps right off the bat, because you want it to stay there. Like, you want your characters to stay cute, stay funny, have those relationships, and really be never changing. But this is just a story that is so, like, it's preached to not do that, because they have to go through so much and have to go through these changes. And naturally that has to go with the whole progression of the story. And that goes with preference, what you like and what you don't like. And I got to say, I'm the type of person who, like Ian said, I like the tests. I like the quizzes. I like that more raw, natural, not everything is a super galactic nuclear fight. However, I knew it was getting to this point, and I also respect the SIU. Like, for me, what makes it good is when an author is able to call back to those old times and really kind of make you feel them, and we see that a little bit. Although we, because there was a part where I forget where it was in the chapters, but, like, we actually saw a test on a floor, and, like, somebody was fulfilling it, and we're like, wow, when was the last time we actually saw, like, a test, like, going on? And albeit it was short, it's like he's at least, like, throwing bones to how it used to be and how the tower is literally still functioning in real time. However, is with how our characters are now, you just can't feasibly have it to the same level that it used to be, because we're trying to kill Jihad, who's the god of the tower. Like, you're not going to be able to do it by, old means that you kind of had to scamaz your way to get up the tower prior. Like, it has to be a point where a god needs to meet the same level of the god of the tower. And it's like, you can't do that all by just, like little tricks. You need the scaling to be there. So it's change, and some people may not like it. Some people will. For me, I like it because there's so many unknown variables. Like, we don't know anything. There's still so much that can happen, and the growth is still there. Did it maybe lose some of its charm? I mean, not really, because, like, the charm comes in, for me, the relationship within Khun, Bam, and Rak, and, and anybody and everybody there. So it's like they still have that dynamic, which I like and love. So, it's doing a good job. I don't know if it's reaching the potential, because, like I said, we're still only scratching the surface of it. It really, like, the potential is, how is he going to continue the story, and what information are we going to know? How is he going to deliver it? And, what kind of places are we going to go to? So for me, it's too soon to tell. I'm still about the story for the ride. Like, I'm going for it. I'm about it. And, I guess if it starts to really bother us, like, we will start to show those signs, and we will, like, call it out. And, whether people think that we're doing it now or not, I can just say, for me, I'm still about it. We're still going strong. And, I can't wait to see what happens. And I just want more information, SIU. Like, please. Like, we don't even know Maria and that whole story. Like, there's still just so much shit we don't know. And, like, that's what's cool, is, like, I want, like it's making me want to continue to get this information, because, like, I just need it. Just give it to me. Stop depriving me. But yeah, no, it's awesome.
There is something that I also think is cool, like, with reading the blog post, something that SIU started referencing more and more frequently is that, and, we rip on him a little bit for it at the time, where he's like, oh, Bam's hair is getting longer. Like, I hate it, though, because it's getting harder to draw. And we're like, well, you're the artist, dude. If you don't like drawing it, like, cut his hair. But it's like, I do genuinely think SIU has it in his head how this story is supposed to work out. And I think, like, a comment like that is actually indicative that he understands these characters so well that at the very least, he is always willing to put first what makes sense for these characters to do, and where it makes sense for these characters to go. Like, wherever the story does go, I don't think he's ever going to devolve the story into doing something out of his own personal, like, feelings or geist. Like, if a character needs to go here, if something, an interaction or relationship occurs, it's because that's genuinely, naturally, like, where these characters would have ended up. And I think as an author, it's very indicative that he just has such a firm grip on these characters, and, like, how they're going to create this story, because he understands that, like, no, this is something that Bam would do as time goes on, because he's in this situation. This is where his head's at. Or, like, no, Khun is feeling this way because, these are the circumstances laid out, and he understands these characters. I think that is, as an author, such a key thing, because I've read enough stories where, like, just with time, the authors, like, it's the opposite. They sort of lose touch with the characters and, like, what makes them tick. And that's when, like, characters start doing things out of character. And it's like, well, wait, why the fuck he's just doing this now? That doesn't make any sense. And the author's like, well, I was trying to put a period on this bitch. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to wrap this up, but I genuinely think that whether, as far as scaling and stuff, wherever Tower of God goes and ends up, at the very least, like, it's never going to disrespect itself or its characters, which is a big plus.
That's well said. Well said. I just want to throw in one little bonus thing, because in the time that we recorded our first discussion, which was last night for us, not for you guys who watched, and now saw a comment on our live stream, and somebody put forward the theory, because we were talking about Ghost and who we think Ghost might be. And I just want to throw one out there, because I thought this was really cool, that somebody said that there's an ongoing theory that Ghost could be V. And the reason that they broke down some of the things in the comment as to why some of the aesthetic things, like the actual hair going back, the fact that he has human eyes, and that he would be one of the people to be able to gauge Jihad's power, being that they had some sort of rivalry at the time and underutilized and knowing Bomb specifically, and his abilities. And I just want to throw that out there because I found that super interesting, and I didn't know if y'all had thoughts on that real quick. It's just kind of like a bonus.
Fuck, that does kind of track, bro.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
I mean,
it's supposed to have, died.
Yeah, at least with and in a way, Ghost, like we were saying, does have a lot of parallels to Bam specifically, in the fact that he can use the Shinsu black hole sphere technique, which we know is specifically from Jihad. And it's well, who else but somebody that was that close to Jihad would be able to replicate that move as well? And if it's, yeah, and the fact that Bam doesn't just identify Ghost as being oh, he's on par with an irregular, but specifically identifies him as being akin to the demon inside of him. Maybe those demons were from when we were talking about, because maybe even if Ghost isn't V, straight up V, sort of merging the theories, I said, they took parts of V when he died and used parts of V and then parts of whatever demons Fug had and cultivated this, Frankenstein thing that is Ghost. Damn, that makes sense, because yesterday when we were talking about it, I think, Gavin, you were the one who was saying, they could have used, DNA or something from, Fantanium or Enryu.
Mm-hmm.
But in my head, I was thinking, but I don't know if they would have had access to any of those, to parts of those people. But V's bot, that's totally something they could have gotten. I mean, when V died, there's no saying that, Arlene or somebody else in Fug, didn't take his bot, you know what I mean, and move it back. I mean, Fug that's their whole foundation, is those two's relationship. So I thought
it was cool, personally. Yeah.
Do you know who that was? In the comments?
I'll try and look it up for a minute. If I can't find it, then I apologize.
Because I kind of want to, shout him out.
Do you have thoughts, Gavin, while I try and find this?
It's weird because I'm trying to formulate an argument of sorts.
You could just agree.
No. No. My natural thought to hearing that, and I can't really explain why, and that's what's kind of racking my brain. I actually don't like that. And that's the thing. I just, when I hear that naturally, my first reaction in my mind was ooh, I don't know. There's just something about what we know about V, and if we're adapting him in this light where it's he's assumingly, Bam's father or, something of that nature. And it's okay, now he's kind of taking on this demon form who's looking after Bam. He can't really speak. And even if it's a part, there's something that it feels very unnatural if that was a route taken for it, and who Ghost is. I don't know. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. It doesn't seem I don't know.
Well, when you say it feels unnatural in who Ghost is, Ghost isn't really anybody right now. You know what I mean? As far as his identity, it's pretty much up for grabs.
I know, but that's kind of the whole thing. It's if we know, if V was as strong as he is or whatever, and it's now Ghost, is partial DNA or something extracted from V, and it's he can somewhat speak now. It's you're telling me, so it's the power of V with no personality of V, because I feel if it had his personality in a sense, if you're seeing his son, and granted he has all of this thing to do and he may not want to say I'm your father or blah blah blah, or there's reasons why he can't. For me, it's a hard sell for the emotions and what we've seen of Ghost to be this is Bam's father, this person of this power, even at a very literally surface level form of just he has a similar died down power of him. I don't know. For me, it's not a cop out in a sense. It doesn't feel like a natural explanation or reason on who he would be. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. I could be completely wrong, but there's just something about it that is a no-no.
I actually feel it's the most not, because again, I'm literally nobody in the tower has even seen or touched Fantane. That dude's, he's not a thing for people in this story. So in Enryu, that's the thorn, is sort of Enryu's connection to these characters from the story. So if we needed an irregular who knows Jihad and has had contact with him and thereby understands his power level, and somebody that has a relationship to Fug, I actually can't think of anybody that makes more sense than V.
No, I think for me, it's not that it doesn't make sense, because it does. And it has nothing to do with the sensuality of it. It's just more what we've seen of Ghost saying that is V it doesn't fit like that person does not even at a surface level. Like if it was maybe like a henchman or someone who was like, you know, by V's side during that time or something, like it doesn't feel right that it's a piece or some affiliation of the original OGV, and this is what it is accumulated to, and like how this person is carrying himself, because it's what we have heard of V. I just don't think like there's a disconnect there that if it was explained to me in that light, I would need like a hard explanation to be like, this is why Ghost acts this way. This is, you know, his limitations. It's this part of V. Like I would need some heavy explanation. It makes sense, don't get me wrong, but it's like just the attitude and the personality that we've seen from Ghost. Like it just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be like this is V 100%. He's just wearing a Ghost mask. Like I think, again, whatever this figure is now is not solely Ghost or solely V. Like this is some weird Frankenstein thing, and that's why I think you could not get away with, because I don't think it's like, you know, you're whisking it, but like that to me would explain why this personality again seems like this very like, you know, Frankenstein version of two different, like this could be Ghost.
I would say the lack of a personality.
Yeah. Like whatever.
It isn't talked, but besides that.
Yeah, the V that again, we don't even really know V. Like we've never met this dude. But like from what we've heard in stories or whatever, and from Edon pieced together, that guy, personality wise, is no longer there. If Fug was able to just take the power or strip away the, you know, the Shinsu, the essence, whatever it is, just so they have a figure, something that they know can like be used as a way to stack up to Jihad. Like again, we talked about it in the last discussion, but like at this point in time, at the start of this story, before BAM was a thing, Fug was probably pretty fucking desperate and probably didn't have a lot of tools at their disposal to oppose Jihad like legitimately. Sure, they had Slayers here and there, but as we've established, the Slayers aren't like, all right, we got White, we're good, he's gonna handle everything. It's like they're regulars, dude, compared to like, so it's like, sure, some of them might put their eggs in that basket, but like having V or having this thing that is on par Shinsu level or whatever with someone, even if it was a comfort thing, to be honest, even if they're like, all right, as long like he's got V's Shinsu, like that's like just, it sounds weird, but like just having that name and that like that connection, like, you know, might, at least again until BAM showed up, might have been enough for them to go ahead with this.
Yeah, I have no clue. And just to clarify, the person Brian Kwong, thank you, KWONG. I don't know if there's a silent in there, so I apologize if I mispronounced that. But
thank you, Brian.
It's the shout out. They are clarifying that they're not the one that came up with this theory, that this is an ongoing theory amongst the fandom. So not claiming sole ownership, but yeah, highlighted at a timestamp in our live stream and says, there's an interesting theory that Ghost is V. Reasons are he can use a Shinsu black hole sphere, which is something only irregulars can do. He has black hair in the ponytail like V did. Bomb mentions he has human eyes, so he was a human at some point, and the fact that he tested Bomb's strength in relation to Jihad. He also used a spell to teleport away, and we know Arlene is known for her spells, so she could have taught him. Okay, the last point requires a massive stretch to the imagination. Admittedly, some of these reasons are a stretch, but interesting nonetheless, and I totally concur. I think interesting nonetheless was the key takeaway there, and I was like,
Yeah, it's not like said it could be totally wrong, but I could see the path if that was the
that
case.
would be interesting. It's like a shell of himself, you know, because his death is shrouded in a lot of mystery. Everyone's
and
like,
really, even Arlene. I mean, like this whole thing ended with Jihad and those two. Like, we know what happened, but we don't really like.
It's all a mystery.
Yeah.
It's all mystery. So just want to throw that out there as a bonus. Thank you for the comment.
Yes, thank you.
But anyway, folks, that is going to do it for our discussion today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you are smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm. You are subscribing and hitting that bell if you are new here so you don't miss any future content. Also hit us up on the AOA Reacts channel. The link is in the description down below so you can catch our live read-throughs of Tower of God and all of our live reactions. Join that Discord. Link is down there as well so you could voice your opinions and your questions so that we might just read them in our future discussions going forward and just hanging out with the brilliant community that we have there now. And also comment your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion? What did you think of the questions posed? Would you have answered them in a different light, in a different way? What stuck out to you when it came to these chapters, etc.? We're curious to read all of them down below. Big shout out to our patrons as well, especially our acolytes of anime, Stoic and Nathan. We appreciate and love all of your beautiful faces. But until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you all on the flip. Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blaze of the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly. They like what you saying. Goma got more through the storylines. I tested your neck from the start. My hunters gon' come for your heart. I promise you'll land in my boulevard. Left them in one piece. No.